over to the tab here and see what happens.
Yeah, it says it's waiting for you.
Okay. I had to refresh my screen here. Now I'm going to turn my volume off on YouTube. Okay, I think I'm set, and I think we're live. Now, where did my StreamYard window go? It's scrolling. What the heck? Oh, here we go. I'm back. Okay, sorry, folks, if you're all there and can hear me okay. As I muddle through, as usual, I want to say welcome to Patryce.
Thank you, Robin.
First time together. And I want to say hi to Jackie and Gerald and Deanne. I feel like I'm in Romper Room looking through my special. You know, if you ever saw Romper Room, Romper, Bumper, Stomper, do. She held up this loop and she could see everybody in the room and say hi to them through the TV. Right. Deanne, Debbie, Jackie, Bernetta.
Yeah, my wife is here.
And Zane. And I think that's it. Oh, Ange. I see Ange. Oh, did I miss Shauna? Oh, yes. Hi, Shauna.
Hey, Shauna. Hey, everybody.
Okay. So that's it so far. We're only 2 minutes in. So, welcome everyone. We're here today to discuss the Mara Lune Tarot, which is a little confusing at first because it's spelled Lunne, and I wasn't sure if it was the Mara Lunne, but I think I saw through another walkthrough it's pronounced the Mara Lune. It's a little confusing though because the deck creator, her name is on the back of the box that Patryce has. I don't have that one. And what does it say there?
Well, I believe he is S. And I'm going to.
I can't read that. I-S? Is that I-S?
L, like Lupin.
L-S.
Grain. And what she went to her website, and what she said is she took the name of the deck from her two cats' names, and then from her first and last name, and that's why. And you said she goes by Lupin, so she is L.S. Grain. She is the artist, correct? And
yeah,
she like two different people, but I believe that is her.
On the website, she says she goes by Lupin, and I think the website is Clary Sage Tarot or something like that.
Yes. Clary Sage Moon. Clary.sage.moon.
Okay. Richie just came in, and Little Latte just came in. And so actually, you and I have different decks. I think you have the first edition and I have the second one. And it seemed like they changed just in the last couple of weeks. Tell me how you first heard about this deck.
I think it was Sunset Bow. I'm not sure that. I think it was Sunset Bow. I think I've had this for a couple of months. But as soon as I saw it, I think I heard you say you are not necessarily a fan of watercolor decks, but I am. And as soon as I saw the first couple of cards that she showed, now there's the High Priestess. I knew this was going to be a deck for me. So I ordered it immediately.
So you saw the walkthrough from Sunset Bow and then you ordered?
I think it was Sunset Bow. Yeah, it was before Bonnie with Old Soul Mermaid.
I think I was just window shopping on makeplayingcards.com, scrolling through the last few pages in reverse, because their site is almost impossible to maneuver.
Yeah.
And I just go through and see something that looks interesting to me, and then I look at the preview to see all the cards, and I found that one by accident. And then, but the preview images are really tiny. And so then I did a Google search to see if anybody had done a walkthrough, and I only found one online. And I think there might have been just a little sneak peek from the creator and one walkthrough. And the walkthrough probably was Sunset Bow. And after I saw it, I fell in love with it and I ordered it. But I think I had read or heard somewhere that she had made a couple of changes in the deck. That originally you could get it in a tin, which is the one that you got, and she was no longer doing that. So I couldn't get the tin. Mine just came shrink wrapped. Additionally, she changed one of the cards, and I don't know, we'll find out whether yours and mine are different in terms of the additional cards. Because it's also available on Game Crafters, and there you can get it in a tuck box with a little white book. And on MPC you can't. But also on Game Crafters it's linen stock, and I actually like the MPC stock better than linen stock. So that's kind of where I went with it.
I kind of had it easier because I didn't have all those choices.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, and now, and the latest thing, I don't know if you've been on MPC in the last few days, but they now have changed all the previews. So you can't look at the full deck of cards on anybody's offerings. They only give you the top row, which is basically 4 cards and the backs. And I wrote them a sort of an angry complaint letter because I said, this is how I shop and find things. I first see all the images, even though they're really tiny. I get a general idea of what they are. And, then I know whether to buy or not. I can't go by just 3 or 4 cards and decide if I like a whole deck. So, and I said, since I have several decks on there, this is also potentially hurting my business because you're not allowing people to see what's in my decks. So anyway, they wrote me back and they said they did this out of concern for copyright infringement, which somebody else had hinted at when I posted online, which I don't quite get because the thumbnails are so tiny and they say they're low res. So I don't know how anybody could capture them and reprint them. But I guess they say they can get the concept of something and try to create it or copy the text on the, I don't know. Anyway, they're doing it for copyright infringement reasons, but because I said, can't you just put a MPC watermark over the whole thing? And they said, well, they thought about that, but I don't know. It wasn't working for them.
And
so
I would see all the cards.
I was really disappointed to hear that. And I don't know how much more shopping I'm going to be doing at MPC if I can't see the cards. I guess if I see, 4 cards and I love them, I'll look for a walkthrough on YouTube, but
right.
I don't know how else to go about it. Yeah, Anne says there's no way they can copyright with those tiny images. I don't know. Oh, Jamie ordered it. She's waiting for her copy to arrive. So she'll probably get, I guess, if she ordered from MPC, she'll get the one that I got. And the one you got, well, like I said, you have the tin, which is very pretty. I'm just keeping mine in this little magnetic flip top box that I got on MPC.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And mine, did yours come with keyword information cards in the back of the deck?
No, I don't.
Did it have a little white book?
No.
Just the deck?
Just the cards.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, the difference between yours and mine, because I checked mine against the walkthrough that Sunset Bow did, and she didn't mention the info cards. And when I did my walkthrough, I completely forgot about it too. So I had to do a little extra 1 minute video just kind of flashing those cards. But we have this deck of cards, and I have an alternate lovers card, which I don't know why she did this. It's kind of uncharacteristic of the rest of the deck. It's pretty, but yeah, that's the original one. And I prefer the traditional one to this one, so I just kind of leave this in the box.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that's the only alternate in the deck she provided, but, you know, for whatever reason, she had reasons, I guess. And then there are like 10 cards, instead, in lieu of a little white book, 10 cards with little keywords on them for each of the cards in the deck. So this is that. It's nothing really special. Like, she has them color coordinated for the majors and then each of the suits, but just so they stand apart. But just for an example, for the Fool, she has open road, adventure and new potential, spontaneity, first step, youthful. And then a reversed, she has foolish, going without preparation, folly. So just, you know, a few keywords or phrases, but I think anybody that knows the RWS wouldn't have any problem anyway, or really need those extra cards.
Yeah.
I did want to show everybody the one card that's different between us, which is the Devil card. If you can find your Devil.
Oh yeah. I've got my all laid out. Am I?
What?
Am I?
No, I don't hear an echo.
Okay.
Do you hear an echo?
I do, but I talk.
So this is the difference between the two, which is interesting, I think. Yours was the first edition that has a little figure down at the bottom, apparently lashed to this leash.
Mm-hmm.
And mine, the leash is just sort of like trailing off the card, which I like both of them. I'm kind of partial to mine over yours because I think it'll be a little bit more vague in the interpretation and less specific than yours is. But they both work.
Yeah, I'm happy with mine. I wouldn't have known the difference if you hadn't shown me yours.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about this deck. I think the first thing I liked that I saw was the backs of the cards. I absolutely love this card back. And the colors in this deck are so toned down and subdued. In fact, I wore this shirt today specifically. This is the closest I can get to the color of this deck, which is basically a sort of a sandy beige. Everything about it is so soothing, and the colors are just this soft, kind of beigey, sandy kind of brown. Nothing really particularly bright or intense. There are colors in the deck, but they're very kind of muted and subdued, I think, and just very relaxing.
I thought you would have worn your favorite shade of green to complement the deck.
Yeah. My favorite green is yellow green, and there's a lot of that in the deck, particularly on the backs of the cards. This is like the one bright card in the deck. It's very bright and colorful, I think.
And what I like about this card, Robin, I like her open hand. You know, that it doesn't have ownership over, you know, the Falcon, like the RWS, that she...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the RWS. Is it like perched on her hand or attached by a leash or something?
Yes, and hooded.
Yeah. This deck is so gentle I want to say it's female centric, but that may be inaccurate. I mean, there are a lot of males in it, but the women sort of take the lead on traditionally male depicted cards, like the Fool is female. Or maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't even distinguish that, in this day and age,
Well,
the
I think it's
gender.
very soft. I think it tends to be pretty yin. And I think that it's easy, and a lot of the cards I think lean toward non-binary. I think that
Yeah.
you can make that decision for yourself, which is something I really like about the deck. Um,
I
I
just want, I'm
okay.
sorry. I
No,
just wanted to pop over and say welcome to Simon and who else came in? Lori Tries Life and Cappuccina Venti. Okay, sorry, what were you saying?
well, I want to thank Simon. Simon's always here as a supporter. I'm the best. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, and I don't want to get ahead of you, Robin. You may be ready to mention this, but it's the ethnicity, the varied skin tones, and it's kind of suggestive, but it's not. Like I don't see anybody in it that looks definitely African American. And I asked my wife, I said, I asked her to look at the cards. What's the ethnicity of the people in here? And I don't know if they lean more toward Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, South American, or if they're just meant to be um, of no specific ethnicity. But I'm grateful that they're not all pink people, not all light beige people.
Yeah, I see a nice variety of colors. And I mean, the impression I got was Southern Europe and South America,
Mhm.
although the Empress and the Emperor look to me very much like they might be of African descent. Or I, I'm like really clumsy with my wording on that, but I think you know what I mean.
Well, and you know what? I'm sometimes clumsy with wording on that. At home we say black. My wife is black, but we also say African American. It depending on what the setting is or what we're
Yeah.
talking about. And my wife, if she's still here, can say, she can say that, however that hits her. But we explore that at home. I don't know that. I think that we all define ourselves, and it's our comfort with how we define ourselves,
I
right?
also I want to say that the diversity in this deck feels really natural to me. It
Mm,
doesn't feel like stilted or awkward or like it was forced. It just feels like completely like it's supposed to be. I mean, it's just like very natural. But I
right.
did want to point out a couple things about the deck that there's a real world element and also a fantasy element in this deck. And then there's also um, some crossovers to animal decks and pip decks. So, I mean, this deck is a weird kind of almost fusion of different kinds of tarot decks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to show any of your favorite cards, or maybe we can talk about some of the differences. I had made a list of like 20 cards that I like, so it's hard for me to like narrow them down. But did you have any particular favorites that you wanted to share or show?
I do, and I should tell you, my whole table is this deck. We've got different categories right now. I would show you, but then I'd have to figure out how to get set up again. Um, well, I already showed the High Priestess, but I want to show this StreamYard. Okay, there we go. Kind of show the two of those because that's Death and the High Priestess.
Yeah.
And if you look close, gosh, trying to find that camera on StreamYard, you see that sense of that same void in the High Priestess as in the Death card.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see, but on her cloak there are stars.
Yes.
And I believe they are also on the, is it the World card, I think? Yeah.
On the scarf.
On the World card, on her scarf, there are like little stars. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, I really, this deck makes it easy to talk about the cards that we might call the difficult cards, or that some people might call the bad cards. We know that there are no good cards, there are no bad cards, really. But like I can talk about this death card in a way that, that invites a conversation. That's not frightening. And which side is death? Is this where the death is? Is this where the death is? Is it a portal to this? Or are we here and looking out? I mean, there's so many ways to look at this very simple card. There's no scary figure, there's no skeleton, there's no, nobody's laying on the ground, nobody's bleeding. And yet you really get that sense of that transition, that void.
Yeah, I don't think there are any disturbing cards in this deck. I actually, in regular decks, let me just say, I think cards that most often people find disturbing are the Death card, the Devil card, the Tower card, and the Ten of Swords.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those are, I mean, like the Devil, for instance, is kind of comical in a way. I don't find him particularly disturbing. I actually enjoy that he's wearing these little sort of like bloomer kind of pants and a little vest. He's
Mm-hmm.
almost a comical little figure, although he's not smiling. That's another thing I love about this deck. Everybody has a very somber expression. If they have smiles at all, they're so subtle. They're almost like Mona Lisa smiles. It's like very serious and thoughtful.
Did you notice how many cards look like they're in meditation? How many? I had to look at the RWS because I had to compare to make sure that it was a characteristic of this deck. But so many figures have their eyes closed and look meditative.
Yeah. Lots of closed eyes, which I think draws the reader inwards too. It's like, for instance, the Magicians, the first one. Then the High Priestess. The Empress is eyes wide open, and the Emperor. The Hierophant has his or their eyes closed. The Lovers seem to have their eyes closed.
And the Two of Cups.
This is one of my favorite cards, actually, the Chariot, because it reminds me of the fairy tale Thumbelina. And I don't know why she decided to include these sort of fairy tale folklore elements in the deck, because it's predominantly not that, but she has a handful of them. There are a couple of mermaids. There are a couple of court cards with antlers. Can't remember that. I think there's another one that's like a fairy tale or fantasy type image. Oh, there's a fairy. There's a fairy in the a judgment card, I believe. Let me see if I can find it here.
The Chariot card was one of the cards that I set aside as Robin, tell me a story, and so was the Judgment card. And Vernetta can verify that. Last night when I was looking at these, I set a few aside and I said, Robin, tell me a story. And these are three of the cards that you're such an amazing storyteller, Robin. I think you know that about yourself. but you are a treasure when you do your little snippets and you do your sort of, what do you call that on the comedy team? The one that's the, the kind of the straight man. Sorry, I know you're not, but but that, that, I don't know, that curmudgeonly character that you kind of play as you play yourself and you tell a story, like your Eunice cycle story recently.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it was not recent. I watched it recently.
Well, I don't mind doing that, but I don't think I can do it live off the cuff, like with everybody here. I usually have to sit and meditate on the card a few minutes, and then a story comes out of that. So I think I would feel the pressure of everybody waiting while I try to come up with something, and I don't think it would come so readily.
Right, and I definitely am not here to put you under any kind of pressure.
But also, I kind of don't want to impose that on anybody else. I'd like everybody to experience this card on their own and come up with their own story. I do love, this is another one where the woman in the strength card has her eyes closed. The deer has its eyes open and it's confronting its face on, sort of like an outward looking at us, and she's sort of inward looking at herself, and maybe we're looking inward at the same time.
And I wondered on that card, Rob, and I pondered that one a little bit. The deer on the strength card. And when you look at the card and you think about the deer as a prey animal, that takes a lot of strength for that deer to stand there with the woman. So who is exhibiting the strength?
Yeah.
And how does the deer speak to that for us?
I was a little bit confused by the King and Queen of Pentacles, which also have antlers. And I have this in a one or more, couple other decks where figures have antlers, and I haven't found anybody to explain that yet. And the only thing I can think of is some sort of relation to shamanism. I know Native American shamans of the Pacific Northwest often depict godlike figures with antlers, and even Celtic shamanism, the god Cernunnos, is a horned god, not horned like a devil, but horned like antlers. And I don't quite know what to make of it, but it's really, I kind of feel like it's sort of connecting that sort of as above, so below thing, earth to sky, because the antlers are almost like antennas reaching up into the cosmos, but we're grounded on earth. I mean, that's the only thing I can extrapolate from that, but I don't know if you have any thoughts or ideas about antlered figures on cards.
Not really. I know that there's usually reference to the fact that they can lose the antlers and then regrow them, but I don't know how that's applicable.
Ooh, that's interesting. Because the other deck that I love so much is Tarot for All Ages, and that has a lot of tree branch elements too, which seem to me to relate to the way antlers look, like branches. And, branches break and fall off trees the way the antlers are cast off from deers, and all of them grow again. So that's interesting. It's sort of a lesson on growth, maybe, or not recycling, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
Maybe regenerating?
Yeah, regenerating. The Hermit, I'm not sure about this Hermit. Usually we see the Hermit as very sort of meditative or introspective, and this one is almost, she's coming right at us with eyes wide open. So it's a very different kind of message, I think, for a hermit.
Her eyes are open, but she does look, she still looks inward to me. I happen to love this card. I also love that it's a female image on the Hermit card.
I think because I picture myself opposite her, I feel like it's confrontational, like she's coming towards me. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I take myself as reader out of the picture, she's just walking forward into some space that I can't see. But when I put myself in it, it changes the dynamic of the card for me.
I can see.
Um, and it's not what we usually see in a hermit card. I like that it's a female hermit, but usually we see somebody looking down or looking out, not looking directly at us so much. Although I think I do have a couple decks that do have a head-on, face-on hermit.
And that's one of the things, Robin, I really noticed about this is that she changed the perspective on so many cards. Um, both of these cards we're looking at from the side instead of directly on. The Emperor is not looking at us.
Yeah,
The Eight of Swords we usually see more from the front, right? It seems to me
yeah.
unusual to see it from the side. Um,
The,
the Six of Wands is not elevated, and she's walking toward us.
yeah. What do you think about that emperor?
Well, it's funny, and I don't think my wife's in the room anymore because she had to go. And where is my Emperor? First thing she said when like it came up in a reading for her, and she was like, "I don't want to be him." Um, but I almost feel like I am somehow part of, I don't know, part of his team, that I'm looking from the side and then he's not looking at me.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure how easily I can put myself in that chair. Where's he looking? Is he looking at, what's he looking at?
I didn't like the card at first because he seems closer and much larger and forbidding kind of than all the other cards. But it seems sort of perfect that he is that like L-shaped, just like the throne, very straight backed, looking straight forward. Well, not forward at us, but straight forward in his position from his chair. And I love the little spiral, the sort of square spiral motif on the throne.
Yeah.
It's sort of like there's a little bit more depth to the emperor than we ordinarily might think of, hinted at by that spiral kind of moving outward. Maybe not in so flexible a manner as a round spiral, but like sharp corners, moving along a straight path until you hit to a certain place and then take a sharp turn. I don't know, that seems very emperor-like to me.
I like that you're calling our attention to that. I will say one other thing. Vernetta really liked the Emperor's hat.
Yeah.
Christmas shopping ideas for Vernetta. She likes that hat. That was the one thing she could, and the shirt. Those are the things she could relate to.
The Hierophant is intriguing too. The Hierophant's hat or headdress is unusual. And I don't know if you noticed, it's very hard to see here. The Hierophant's book, if you look at it with a magnifying glass, has a picture of the golden mean, the golden ratio on the cover of the book, which is really different. I don't know if that's like an alchemical thing or not, but it's like not what we're used to seeing on a Hierophant card. I think maybe it was Sunset Bow, though, or somebody else I saw that pointed out, I didn't catch it at first, that sort of blue outline around the Hierophant is shaped like a keyhole, because we don't have the usual cross keys like we have generally with the Hierophant, but we do have a keyhole sort of doorway that they're standing in, which I like that nod to the keys in the RWS. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the map here. The two cards that you previously showed, you showed the Six of Wands and I think a couple others. I don't know if you remember. I wanted to talk about there's the Eight of Swords.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the Eight of Swords, and there's something really, I don't know why. For some reason, that reminds me of like Jane Austen novels or something.
Mm.
The dress isn't exactly an Empire dress. Maybe it's the bun in her hairdo or something. There's something about it that is just like so different than any other Eight of Swords I've ever seen. There's
Mm.
something very kind of delicate and refined. Maybe it's because she's not bound with a rope, but it's sort of a stylish sash, you know? I don't know. There's some, and she also reminds me of like an Edward Gorey illustration too, if you're familiar with his work. He does these sort of turn of the century or late 18th century or 19th century Victorian style kind of illustrations. She almost looks like she could just, walk ahead blindly out of those swords.
Or step sideways, just sort of
Yeah.
up, and just sort of shimmy to get those soft ribbons off. It's just a little bit of a shimmy, like get some movement going, and all of that's going to fall away.
The Wands cards. Oh, the card that first drew me to it, besides the picture on the back, was the Three of Wands because that's my personal significator, and
Mm-hmm.
I just found this one really pretty. And so I love the Three of Wands. I also love the Two of Wands. Where'd he go? Oh, I like that the Two of Wands is not looking off the top of a rooftop, but he's actually making a slow climb and using the two wands like walking sticks to help him up the hill. So I really like that imagery. And there are no bright skies in this deck. They're all kind of muted yellows. They're not dark, but we don't have that garish sunlight that we get in the RWS. Um, oh, the Six of Wands you were pointing out. Yeah, we usually sort of see that as a kind of somebody returning from battle or whatever, and they're being celebrated. It's a very different feel here. It almost feels to me like a ceremony or something, like, she's making a procession down this path and being welcomed by people who appreciate her.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a story.
Yeah, yeah, being welcomed home or being welcomed into a new phase of her life.
Yeah, the two at the foot of the path are holding up bouquets like they're ready to present them to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like been
she's
through an
accomplished something and she's
mhm.
returning home.
Like she's been through an initiation.
I also find it I can't quite make out why. If you look, you can see she's got this strange stance to this one hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like uh, I can't stand and do it, but it's almost like, please don't, no, not too much praise,
I
keep
call
it
that like
down.
a girly hand. And look at the fool. The fool has that. It's like that girly pose when you
Oh
watch like
yeah.
a 7-year-old girl learning how to dress like a girl and move like a girl. They've got that overly postured hand.
Yeah.
And there's another card that has that too. I had them set aside at one point. Um, but I thought it's so unusual to see that that hand position. Wait a minute. You know who else has it? The world card. You see that that hand position of the right there. I don't know what that is, but I can't do it with StreamYard, but it's just such a feminine, I really can't find my hand on StreamYard. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
just such an overly feminine posture.
I just want to jump back to I've been kind of ignoring the chat and I want to see if there's anything in here that needs to be
Mm.
addressed.
Oh, Shauna, the Six of Wands.
Lori says it's a really gentle tarot. She says, is it a new artist? I don't know the history of her, but if you go to the website, she has done a lot of illustration and she sells her illustration. Simon says the more he sees this deck, the more he likes it. Ange prefers the MPC stock over Game Crafter. Little Latte says this deck's giving me major deja brew. Okay. Oh, Simon says, I just wish there was a 10 or something. Well, there was. I don't know why there isn't anymore, why she discontinued it. You could probably have one made if you could get the... I tell you, if you buy the deck and take a snapshot of the back with your iPhone, you could probably crop it and drag it right into a tin. So it shouldn't be too hard to do. Cappuccino says, this deck's a perfect blend. I can't quite espresso my feelings. It's cool beans. Let's see. Oh, Jack, thank you, Jackie. She put the link for the deck. Jamie ordered a tin with hers from MPC. I don't know how she did that. Oh, she must have got it just before it got taken off the offerings, like when you got yours. But odd that I got mine delivered before Jamie did. I don't know.
This is out of context, sort of, but we keep referring to Sunset Bow, and I think Robin. I'm not Robin. I'm so sorry. You're Robin. Bonnie, Old Soul Mermaid, did the more recent walkthrough of this deck.
Oh, maybe that's the one I saw.
That's the one where you saw my comment.
That might have been. I can't remember who did the one that I saw.
And I don't think I watched Bonnie's full walkthrough. I think I got interrupted. That I made that comment and then went off somewhere.
Sorry, there's so many here in the chat. Okay, I think I'm caught up. There's a few pip cards in here. Oh, 9 of Wands is interesting because the barrier doesn't go all the way across the card. So I mean, I always look at that as sort of like a defensive card, and usually it shows the figure in bandages, like in a sling or with a bandage around their head. This one, again, has her eyes closed, but she's not injured. I always see it as a sort of like defending one's territory, but this is a pretty poor defense because you could walk right around that barrier there. The Page of Wands is intriguing. It's got this sort of ribbon dance or a paintbrush kind of thing going on. I'm not sure.
That's the card I got last night when I asked for a 1 card about our live. I got this one, which I thought was perfect. Just to be free flowing, to be creative. Let your hair down, Robin.
Oh, I know something I wanted to ask you. What do you think about the knights? Because I've heard people complain there are no horses for the knights, and also the knights don't seem particularly active.
I would have to agree with that. And let's see, in a reading, I got this one. And he also looks so young. I kept thinking of him as a page.
Yeah.
Without the action, without a little bit more maturity. I really had to go by the words rather than the picture to get who he was.
Yeah. I think for the knights in this deck, I think if there's any action, it's sort of interior, internal action. It's more thinking about what they're going to do rather than physically doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wish that she hadn't used swords in this deck because there are no weapons really. There's no battle or anything really going on. Even in the Five of Wands, there are no people. It's just five sticks kind of randomly in space. And so you don't have that element of
Mm-hmm.
confrontation or struggle or something. I mean, I guess it's there a little bit, but there's no people behind it. So there you have a pip card, basically,
Mm-hmm.
but it also reminds me of decks dealing with herbs and plants. And there are a few little animals in the deck, but not too many. Now I've gotten all my cards out of order, so it's harder to find things.
This is one of my favorites, Robin. I think you like
Oh,
one
I
too.
was just going to reach for that one.
Yeah, I felt it, but I didn't mean to beat you to it.
I thought
Yeah.
I thought Sandra would really love that one.
Mm.
It seems very Sandra to me for some reason.
Yeah, there's such a sweetness to that card. I really
And
like.
it's such a very different feel, I think, for the Three of Cups. It communicates the same thing without three people being together. But it also almost brings in Lenormand for me. You
Mm.
know, the birds and Lenormand, about how they sort of like chatter or talk
Mhm.
together. There's that element for me in the Three of Cups about sort of communication of three people meeting together and sharing their thoughts.
Absolutely. Can I show another favorite?
Yeah, yeah,
Are we looking? I don't know if we're looking for pip cards or whatever, but I love this moon, and I
yeah.
love that it's two faces, but it's also one face, depending on how you look at it. She does like to play with perspective
Hmm.
in a really subtle way.
I love that too. It's so peaceful and gentle. It's very related to sleep at night, but also that meditation with the eyes closed, the fact that it could be one or two faces.
Hmm.
Also, I love that she has the waves underneath, sort of makes me think of the tides, you know,
Right?
the way that they're moving. It's not still waters, they're kind of flowing as if the tides are being affected by the moon. And you've got those rings around the moon that make me think of like gravity or the tidal pull. And
Mm.
yet you also still have those two, I don't know what you call them, not towers exactly, or two pillars that we get in the traditional moon card.
Hmm. Although in the traditional moon card, they are more towers. Here they are
Yeah.
more pillars or part of a pier.
Yeah, they reminded me of a part of a pier too. Yeah, the end of a pier. Yeah.
Hmm. It's just such a
Simon said very deviant moon design. I don't know if he's which card
oh,
he's talking about, but
maybe on that one. Is he talking about that?
hmm. um, oh, I love this one too. I love the Eight of Cups.
I was going to ask you about that one.
Usually that's a very stark, dark card, and it seems like almost like an angry, you know, running away card or something. There's something almost like peaceful night journey there. It's like under that moon by the water and just slowly going uphill, leaving those cups behind. It's not as it's not as stark a kind of an abandonment of the cups. You know, it's just sort of like, all right, I'm just going to leave those cups behind. I'm going to go be on my way. I've decided I need to move a little bit further along.
And there's a
You know,
determination in her stance. You know she's going to get there, right? And
yeah,
I feel like she takes us with her. You know,
yeah,
can go there with her. I can
Oh,
feel.
Simon was saying the two faces in one with the moon, or like the
Mhm.
deviant moon. I get that. I also, I never cared for the Nine of Cups in the RWS, that everybody calls it the John Travolta card, but I really like this one. I don't know whether it's these sort of like Adobe type style houses with the beige, stucco or whatever it is, or whether it's the architecture. There's just something about this that's like really. This almost feels more like a ten of cups. I mean, yeah, 10 of cups than a 9 of cups, except there's only one person in it.
Almost a Ten of Pentacles kind of feel with
mm,
the way.
yeah.
But we've got, yeah, and then we've got the rainbow like the Ten of Cups. I see what you're looking at.
And again, the figure, it's hard to see his eyes, but it looks like he or she is meditating. We've got that rainbow in there. I love the gentleness of the 7 of cups. It's very,
Just
very
getting ready
cute.
with that one. I really like the cup suit. I had that one ready to go next, Robin.
There's like a kitten sitting in one of the cups.
I know it's almost postured like a litter box. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's funny. In some of the cup cards, we see like dragons or ghosts or serpents. In this one, they're all really like there's a moon, some books, a house, a heart with wings. I think there are paintbrushes and maybe jewels. So, I mean, it's all like really positive kind of choices.
Right. I got the same kind of feeling. It's like there's no bad choices, but you know, and once you've chosen one, maybe you don't get to choose another. So there can be that element to it that the choice is important, but you don't get tricked in this one. Um, you don't choose and then find out it's a skull or a dragon and everything looks like a life choice. That's what I'm looking for, like a life choice. Am
Yeah.
I going to go to school? Am I going to buy a house? Am I going to get a pet? Am I going to take up painting? Or am I going to go for love? What's going to be most important to me here?
Yeah, I wanted to welcome in Nancy and Kristen Louise, and I answer a question. Simon asked whether you got yours from MPC, and the tin was available there originally. She did get it from there, but it's no longer available there. And hers is the first edition because the devil card was changed, which we could show that again if I
Yeah,
can find them.
I keep calling everybody Robin now, Robin. Was Simon here when we showed this? I'm not sure.
No, he wasn't here at the beginning. Okay.
The original
So
guy.
Simon, she changed this card, and I actually like the new card better. But
Yeah, that's the new card.
I don't know, if there's any way to get the version Patryce has, other than maybe a used copy online or by contacting the creator. And since they only show you about 7 cards at the Game Crafters site of the Lunne version, I don't know which devil card is in there because that's not one of the cards they show. So you'd be kind of gambling if you bought that version.
So it's Game Crafters, not MPC, that has changed to just showing the handful of cards?
No, Game Crafters never showed the whole deck, I don't think.
Oh, okay. And so
Or
now,
maybe they do, depending on who's offering it. I'm not real familiar with them, but I did look at her offerings there, and it only shows about 7 cards. And MPC now only shows the top row, which is like 4 fronts and 4 backs. So yeah, that's all you get now. The 10 of Cups, I'm not crazy about this. I mean, it's it's like a pip card, and not really keen on the color combination somehow. It's okay, but
yeah, we know what it is, but it doesn't say anything special.
yeah. I mean,
Now,
I always like more when we have figures in there that I can relate to emotionally, you know?
right. And since we're still talking about cups, I especially like this one. That's like a meeting of the minds, and I like this. I used to study something called zero balancing, and there's this, you strive for this interface where you meet and you support, but you don't lean too far, or or you throw that balance off. And they seem to be leaning in and offering that interface of mutual support where they, where there's that connection, but neither is leaning on the other. And I really like that.
I like that they're not facing each other and they're not embracing, or they're not, toasting each other or looking each other in the eye, but they're shoulder to shoulder, but they're connected in some way internally. They both have their eyes closed. There is that connection, that emotional connection.
And we can't
Some
really tell the age. She could be an elder, or she could be a peer. You can't really tell that from here. Are they friends, or is there a deeper, is there a lover connection? It doesn't really, it leaves that story open, at least for me.
I think too, sometimes you can connect without having to speak, or I mean, they're just together, and you get that sense they don't have to even talk to feel connected,
Yes. Yeah, I like it. I like the way you put that.
Oh, we also didn't mention, in terms of diversity, there are some elders in this deck. Some of the kings and queens have gray or white hair, which is nice. It sort of gives them and all the pages are women, all the knights are men, but the kings and queens are all elders.
Oh, I'm really having a thing with the StreamYard. Yeah, there's a couple of the older women, and the kings, though, Robin, I was going to look at the kings. I joke with Vernetta that they all look like this kind of the same guy, but dressed
Yeah,
differently, right?
that's true.
But you do get a sense of the suit and the maturity.
Hmm.
So that maturity of the suit. Um, I like the crystal at the top of the staff for the King of Wands. Really, they all look very, they have a similar expression, but that's because they've got that self-confident inward, they have mastered their suit.
Yeah. I wonder, do you draw any inference from the fact that the page and the queen of cups are mermaids, but the knight and the king are humans?
Huh.
I didn't quite know what to make of that.
Yeah, tell me what you did make of that, because you've made that connection. I mean, here are the mermaids.
Well, we have that Thumbelina character in the chariot, and here we have these mermaids, which is a fairy tale like character, but I don't quite know what to make of it. I mean, there are other decks that have used mermaids in the whole suit of cups, but I'm not clear on why we have. I mean, I guess this could be kind of a Little Mermaid reference, where you have the romance between the mermaid and the human boy, that we've got the men that don't have tails and the women that do have tails. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe when you've had a chance to spend time with the cards, you'll tell us a story about that.
Well, I do like that the knight, on the knight's collar, he has this motif that's like waves, which is a nod to, the cups and the sea. The king, however, doesn't. He's just sort of standing in front of the sea. I don't know.
Except he still has that same blue of the waves. He has that in his shirt that's under
That's
his
true.
jacket.
And I can't quite tell what's on his crown, because the kings in this deck have interesting crowns that are usually nods to their suit. I
Mhm.
think the King of Swords has feathers in his crown, or crown of feathers. The
Mhm.
King of Wands has leaves in his crown.
Mhm.
But I can't make out what those are on the King of Cups crown. Maybe fins? Or,
But there's no scales. Is it like a Neptune kind of reference? I mean, I'm really not
oh, maybe.
a person of a scholar of that of mythology. But yeah, I don't know what that. Oh, I can't get any closer than that. Yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to be.
I hope everybody's okay with us being all over the map with this. I was originally going to go through a card at a time, and we're just like going willy-nilly, but that's okay, I guess. I noticed when I looked at the Ace of Swords that this also makes me think of the Thoth Tarot. There's something about the design of the sword and the coloring and the sort of geometric pattern of the energy radiating from the tip of the sword that makes me think of a card from the Thoth, Crowley's or Rita Harris's Thoth deck.
And I did bring the aces over, but I don't know where my Ace of Pentacles is. Is it different? Did I not pull it over because it has a different look?
Um,
Three. Yeah, there's some.
oh, I got it.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah, that's really different.
Right. But that looks almost more like spacious tarot kind of.
Well, this also reminds me of the tarot for all ages, because they often use the coins as seeds. And here we've got something that seems almost like it's halfway submerged into the earth,
Mm.
and vines or plants growing around it, as if we planted that seed, and there's growth coming from that. Um,
You know,
any
in
thoughts on this Wheel of Fortune? Very simple.
mhm.
We don't have any negativity here. There's like
Right. I guess there's, you
the
can.
sun and the moon, and the wheel keeps turning between them, and then we've got sort of this growth cycle around the wheel of this vine plant pattern again.
I mean, it's kind of fun if you read reversals.
Yeah.
Uh, I still have some intrigue with the cups. That seems to be my suit in this. But look at her, and the way she's looking at us,
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's like, well, what would you do? It doesn't have that indifference kind of look. I almost feel challenged.
Yeah, in the usual one, the figure is looking at the three cups and ignoring the fourth.
Yeah.
Hers is kind of like, you're distracting me. I was focused on this one cup, and you're calling my attention over there to the other three, which is kind of the reverse of what we usually see.
She reminds me of when you're watching a movie or a play and the character turns and looks to the audience,
Uh-huh.
out of character. She does that for me.
The tower is very unthreatening. It's
Mhm.
being struck by lightning. It's sort of solitary and alone in the dark. We
Mhm.
have no figures falling from it. It's not actually falling apart yet, but there is an element of uncertainty, with the lightning striking, like what might happen next.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm not sure. There might be a crack in the tower, I guess, from that one strike there.
Mm,
I just thought it was the end of the lightning, but it might actually have created a crack or a fault in the tower.
mm.
Oh, it looks like there might be a few fragments of the tower falling.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard to see here. But I kind of like that it's very simple and that there are no figures tragically falling to their death.
Right.
Um, I wasn't real taken with the star card. She seems a little Vegas-y or something, glamorous. It's like, I don't know
Yeah,
what she's all about, really.
I had to agree on that one. I mean, she's lovely, but I don't get, I
She
don't get,
doesn't have
well,
the usual two pictures, but
right.
she does have an interesting pose with her hand, one on her heart, over her heart, and the other is an open hand,
Mhm.
so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I tend to approach cards from more of a process place of, positioning with the cards, and she does offer that, but I couldn't quite figure what that positioning, how that informs us of the characteristics of the star.
Oh, what do you think? I'm sorry. I
No,
keep jumping and changing things.
yeah, what
I
do,
don't know what to say. There's something about her dress too, the star's dress. It's like an evening gown or something like. What? Why are
right?
you dressed so glamorously? Are
It
you
just,
going out to a nightclub?
and then what struck me is funny. Now it's been a long, long time since I played with paper dolls, but she looks like her dress has been tabbed over like a paper doll. It's
Uh-huh.
like it's applied over the top of her. It looks separate from her, almost like somebody placed that over her nakedness so that she wouldn't be revealed. Or
And
not.
I notice it looks like there might be a sun figure under her hand on her chest. It's almost like she's hiding the sun and revealing the star above her head.
And I thought that was the star. But,
Oh, maybe it is.
well, no, you may be right. Look at, there's, the audience can
Yeah.
cite her on that one.
What do you make of the judgment card, fairy?
That's one of the ones I wanted Robin to tell me a story about.
Well, I'm Robin,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to tell you. There are no other little fairies. It's almost like they're blowing the trumpet to call the other fairies out of hiding. But there aren't any other fairies. There are lots of flowers and there are butterflies. I mean,
So,
maybe
yeah.
maybe the butterflies are fairies in transition or something.
Well, again, so is that okay? So, what this card really is about is transformation, and we don't want to feel uncomfortable. So, we're just going to show flowers and butterflies and a fairy. Uh, you know, I mean, there's nothing to confront us on that card, right? And there's nothing to rise above or awaken from. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can work with it, but
I noticed in my world card, or when I did the walkthrough, we don't have the usual creatures at the four corners, which always confuse me. I think they're biblical references or something, and maybe that's why I have trouble with them. But here we have these sort of concentric rings, and we've got the usual wreath that she's dancing through, and she's got the night sky. I mean, not the night sky. She's got the sky about her and the night sky on her shawl. And I didn't think that much about that blue sky around her when I described it, because outside of the wreath, we have a circle of vines, which would relate to the earth element, followed by a circle of waves relating to the cups element, followed by a circle of fire related to the wands element. And we don't really have air, except there is sort of a little bit of interaction between the water and the fire that could be air, but you've also got that air around the figure dancing in the ring. So all the elements, the 4 elements are there anyway.
Right, but we don't have the fixed signs and the other symbols that are usually in that card.
Yeah, what was the other one you were just holding up?
I think I was holding up the Ace of Wands to show that is on the, that's what's on the.
Yeah, I don't know why the pink on this one disturbs me.
Huh.
I think I find the pink a little bit unsettling because the other warm colors, the shades of yellow and beige, are so kind of not bright and soothing that little pop of pink or red there unsettles it for me. I don't know why.
Would you rather see red or orange, something more fun?
No. I actually would rather see beige or maybe green, because there is the green and the plants there, but just something more in keeping with that message of growth in the plant. Because I think maybe the pink, well, we have the sun, but the pink is a sort of red kind of fiery element. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing because I also look at this as a growth thing. And if you look at growth and plants, you think of earth as well as the fire energy coming through the wands. But I don't know. I have to really think about why that bothers me. What do you make of the 4 of Wands? Again, a celebration card, but no celebrants.
Well, then it's perspective again, changing the perspective again. You know, it's like we're inside. Are we inside that?
Well, this is almost like the spacious tarot, isn't it? Like we're the character in there looking at these 4 wands, you know, we're in the scene.
Let me see if I can pull out really fast, pull an RWS. I think I've got a deck in order here. The new recolored Pam. Let's see. What am I looking for? 4 of Wands, because I have a question about where the castle is. Okay, so if we look at the 2 of these, see the castle's way off in the distance.
Yeah.
What is our perspective?
Yeah.
It's on the wrong side. If we're in that frame, why are we looking across at the castle? Oops.
You're thinking that we're the 2 figures?
Well, I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the perspective on that one.
I like it in a deck, though, that's not like cut and dry and that leaves it open to various interpretations. It looks to me almost like our whole audience is left except Jackie, Christina, and Shauna. Jackie's making all these wonderful observational comments on all the cards that I have just like skimmed right by and haven't noticed, and now I don't know what cards they're related to. But I appreciate that she's participating.
Our Jackie is wonderful. So I wonder if there's anything anyone is wondering about, Jackie. Jackie.
Yeah, is there anybody that has any particular questions or wants to see a particular card? I mean, I have trouble finding it, but the 4 of Swords, I like this as a meditative pose that as opposed to the usual reclining and sleeping card that we usually get.
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
lot
the
of
three,
call to go inward in this deck, isn't there?
yeah. The three of cards is again, reminds me of the Thoth Tarot a little bit.
Yeah, your Three of Swords, yes.
And Three of Swords. It also makes, I like that it's a flower instead of a heart too that is being pierced. Again, not so threatening to pierce a flower than a heart.
Right. Yes, like, I know I like the softness and the non-threatening quality of it to be able to invite a conversation, to invite an exploration. But I wonder if some people might be looking for something to create that place of friction, that place um, of challenge, that, and whether they're going to find that in this deck or not. Where do you find that sand in the oyster shell, that place.
Yeah. I don't know though, I don't think all decks have to be the same. I think, different decks can bring different things to people, and if they're looking for that, maybe this isn't the deck for them. Maybe they find another deck. But I mean, this does provide a lot of different perspectives than we're used to,
Mm,
on different ways of thinking about cards than the way we're used to. Like, they switch the genders, they switch the perspective, they switch the attitude. There's a lot of things to think about here. For instance, we have here the 2 and 5 of Swords. Both are ones that we usually see from the front, and these we see both of them from the back.
right.
It's very different. It's like, what are those characters thinking? It makes us wonder more about what they're thinking since we can't see the expressions on their faces.
Right. And instead of the blindfold, it's because we're seeing from the back of the head. So was the blindfold for us? We're still not seeing the figure's eyes. Well, what are they looking at? We don't
Yeah.
know if they're blindfolded or not.
When you look at cards, do you ever feel like you inhabit the character on the card? I often do. I think I have this sort of empathic quality. It's not like I'm observing somebody else, but I'm putting myself in the card, regardless of the race, the gender, the age, the body type, whatever. I'm inside the body of that figure, and I'm perceiving the world the way I feel they are, or I'm trying to relate to the world the way that I think that they might be.
Which is part of why, Robin, I think you are such a storyteller. I think it's from that perspective of being in the card that you tell us those stories.
Maybe it's why this card gives me trouble. I can't put myself in there. There's no people in that card.
And I tend to feel into the card. I can position with the card. I can do things to bring that feeling. With that 10 of Cups that you just showed us, I could feel that radiating, the color radiating. I can't describe it better because I'm not looking at it. But as you held it up, I could put myself in that feeling of that. Um,
There's also a couple of sort of crafty elements in this deck I like. I love the basket weaver in the 8 of Pentacles. I mean, I took a basket weaving class in grade school, and it brings me back to that. And I've seen videos on YouTube of people gathering reeds and weaving them into baskets and things. And it's like, I'm totally fascinated by earthly sort of crafts and bushcrafting and building shelters and so forth. So I really love that. And also the patterns in these, again, remind me of like Latin America, you know. I like that not all the pentacles are the same. In fact, the 7 of Pentacles is pomegranates on a tree. It's not discs, you know. Um, and the Ten of Pentacles is Japanese lanterns. I absolutely love this card. I don't know why. There's something. What do we usually get on there? It's like we get a family in a sort of architecture with the 10 coins, like the Tree of Life. I like this better. I can sort of almost visualize or hear those lanterns swaying in the breeze on those lines. And there's something very gentle and comforting the way a family should be in terms of it's like the caress of a warm breeze or something. And look at that family all looking out to the horizon, and those soft, gentle lanterns. Again, my favorite color.
That's halo in the background. Sorry. Yeah, I get almost a Middle Eastern feeling for that family, but again, I think that's part of the point is that we can't pinpoint where we are geographically, where we are ethnically. I'm sorry, how much of a, let me get halo. That's,
We've looked at this one before, but I like the sort of Buddha-like quality of this figure. You know, not just the pose, but the way the hair is arranged in a way that reminds me of, like, I don't even know if it's hair or a headdress. I think it's hair. It's sort of like the way it's arranged on typical Buddha in that position. Did your doggy need a little loving?
Oh, she wanted to tell me she heard something outside, so she always makes an entry here somehow.
The Nine of Swords, different perspective on that nightmare card, sitting straight towards us in bed, with plenty of comforting pillows and things around her, but those swords are over her head. It's like the worry is all inside.
Right, you get more the mental quality rather than the monsters under the bed kind of quality.
Oh, and the Ten of Swords, we've got no figure, but we've got these circling birds overhead, which I'm not sure what to make of. There's an unsettledness that's sort of like they're not organized. They're maybe done with what they've been doing and are going to do something next if they can get themselves together to move on. I don't know. They're flying in different directions.
Yeah, they are disorganized. I see that. Yeah, and there are 10 birds and 10 swords.
And I don't know if it's sunset or sunrise or if it matters. I'm thinking that I rarely hear or see birds in action after dark, but just before sunrise, we see them, you know, calling and flying about. So, I mean, maybe that's a hint at sunrise. I don't know. Could be either, I guess. But I like that these swords are all just they're kind of focused, stuck in the swords are more focused than the birds are. They all sort of drive home the same point, the same area of Earth.
And see, and there's someone else in the chat that loves your stories, tarot trainee.
Oh.
Stories from that series.
Well, you know, I started that because Gerald started it. He wanted people to use the tarot, I think, as prompts. And I've been participating in a couple of writing classes and doing short pieces. And so I thought, well, instead of word prompts, I'll use image prompts. So I started using the tarot cards, and I didn't want to write specifically about what I exactly see in the card. So I thought, you know, let me just extrapolate from that and see where it goes. And I had a lot of fun with it, but it seemed like I was the only one doing it, and I just kind of lost interest or lost track, I guess.
Well, I think you should do more of it. I think you've just got that brilliant dry humor that, and you do it in 2 minutes. You get a
Yeah.
whole story to us in like 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. Tarot trainee says the birds look reactive to the swords coming.
Hmm. Coming
Me
down, maybe?
too. Coming,
Coming down, I
coming
think.
down. I'm not sure how I feel about the Knight of Swords. He seems sort of wary or reluctant, but he is holding a sword in readiness. This may be the only card in the whole deck where there's any potential threat of, violent action of some sort. But it's very thoughtful. Even the page, she's like very, pretty much at ease with her sword.
Mm-hmm.
I love the feather headdresses on the King and Queen of Swords. The feathers relating to that air element. That's why I almost wish she had substituted feathers for swords in this deck,
Hmm.
because it feels like it would be a more gentle approach like the rest of the deck.
Hmm.
I like the play of the Two of Pentacles card, that sort of balance. I don't know what that game is called where you bounce these spindles on a string. Again,
Yep.
that relates to that craftiness of the basket weaving and the old world village oriented culture.
So is that background, that map
Sorry?
on the two of is that water or mountains? That water looks awfully high.
It looks like mountains to me.
Yeah, we
Um,
water.
yeah, it's a little bit more jagged on the edging than we typically see with water. Can't see real close, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you could read it either way, but there's that crease over here of the almost like a hill going down in front of a hill going up. So it looks like land to me.
I
It's an
almost
odd color though.
I almost get that stage feeling, like in
Yeah,
Coleman Smith's artwork, how some of them are actually it was Richie at Longman Tarot that did
yeah, that's true because
that.
of that line across there in brown. Yeah.
So it's like a backdrop instead of being actually on the coast.
I love that. That was probably my favorite section of Tarathon this year, what Richard did. And it upset some people, I think.
It
It
was
really
really,
shook their foundations on Pamela Coleman Smith's art, but it made so much sense to me.
and I don't always see it, but I often will see that now that Richie pointed that out.
Yeah.
We have a lot of brilliant people in this community. And, just since I'm here with you, Robin, I hope you don't mind just taking another moment to shout out to this community, because you all have created something for me that is life changing. During the pandemic, I haven't been alone. You guys have been here. And, I just really, really value what I learn here and what I experience here.
What do you think of this
Mm.
Five of Pentacles?
I'm glad you brought that one out, because I like that it's not a church.
Mm-hmm.
I like it doesn't feel like we've been excommunicated.
Yeah.
We don't know if, we see the warmth in that, what is that called? Like not kiva. What is that called? Maybe like there's a word,
What?
kiva, or there's a word for like what that kind of house is.
Oh, I don't know.
We don't know if she's going to the door or not, but we don't get that same sense of necessarily being excluded.
It almost reminds me of a yurt, but it's not a yurt because this looks like it's made of a hard substance.
Right. That's what I was thinking, like kiva. Is that a word? Something.
It's almost like an igloo. I don't know though. It looks like some sort of earthenware dome.
Right, like a desert structure of some kind. I don't
And
know.
in the camera makes it look like there's a cross in that window, but it's not exactly a cross. It's more like
Mhm.
kind of, but it's like, I mean, it's in a cross pattern, but it's these circles sort of.
Mhm. But
It,
you get the cold, you get the effort, but I don't. And if we're supposed to get that sense of exclusion, I don't get that from that card. I feel like I've got the possibility of
you have that same element that they're outside with the wind blowing, the dark, cold sky. You can tell from the smoke the way it's going
Mhm.
that, there's, and the clouds, that there's, cold winds, accumulating, and the way the drape is about them and their hair blowing,
Mhm.
that it's cold out there. And they're in their bare feet, I think. Yeah. And there's potential shelter and warmth in that building. Whether they live there or whether it's somebody else's, there's the possibility that they'll find some relief there.
Yeah, I sense that possibility, but I'm also looking at this person and they're not looking at the shelter. It's like they're so focused on moving through that cold wind. And I don't know if I
Hmm.
can show that. Let's see. That they're not looking at the shelter.
That's interesting.
Have you
I
ever been
wonder if it's
built
like not even on their mind.
right?
Like
But really
maybe like
cold,
they're not worthy of finding refuge, or I don't know.
where there's just so much effort. Like I in Manhattan, you can come around a building and hit that cold wind that is just in your face, and it's everything to just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
I almost get that feeling from this card. It's so cold, the wind is blowing, and I'm so focused on just trying to move forward. And my feet are cold. Those bare feet, my feet are cold looking at that. But there's this moving against this invisible.
Jackie says she sees Christmas pudding. We don't have that here, but I've seen pictures, so I know what you mean. Yeah.
And Kristen's having to go.
Yeah. Uh, looks like a wigwam, Kristen says.
Ah,
I don't know. Oh, your dog fell asleep?
yeah, I think we've bored her, Robin.
Well, we've been on, almost an hour and a half, or more than an hour and a half. So I should probably let you go unless there are any closing thoughts you'd like to share about this deck. I apologize to everybody in the chat for being all over the map with this and not attending so well with the chat. I'm still not very good at these lives, but I hope you got a sense of this deck and what it's all about. And maybe it interests you enough to investigate other walkthroughs further or order a copy. I would love to have this creator receive some support from us. And
Mhm.
I have really good feelings about this deck. I find it really comforting, and I think I'm going to be using it a lot. And it's presumptuous of me to say that it might be my new soul deck, but because I said that of Tarot for All Ages, and look, I've jumped ship in 2 months to this one. But
I said something very similar when I got it. I loved it instantly.
it's hard to know when you get a new deck you relate to. Is it the infatuation of the moment, or is it something deeper and longer lasting? And I still love Tarot for All Ages, there are some things about it I don't love. Like I don't love the card stock or the oversized cards. It's hard to shuffle for me, hard to handle. There are a few cards that like confound me a little bit, but I find it optimistic, bright, and cheery. And sometimes I need that. I reach for that because a lot of my decks are very somber, sober, melancholy. And
Tarot,
this one is kind of in that vein of somber and melancholy.
tarot trainees asking to see death and devil. Is that right?
All right, well,
There's death.
I should show her the devil because if she orders now, she's going to get my devil probably. Unless she orders from Game Crafters, in which case we don't know which devil she'll get.
And I apologize, I don't know tarot trainee's name.
I don't either. Here's the new devil. The original devil had a little figure at the end of the leash, and see there, some changes were made. So the depiction is more obscure now, I guess, less specific as to what, if anything, is on the end of that leash.
And Jackie wants you to know that she thinks this beats tarot for all ages. I think this beats most decks.
Well,
really
Jackie and I were in a wonderful little study group that I started for Tarot for All Ages. There were about 5 or 6 of us, and I think both Ben and Jackie were lovely participants, but I think both of them were not completely enamored of the deck. I appreciate that they got the deck, and I think maybe they got it just because I pushed it so hard. I hope I've been wanting to have a follow-up meeting of the study group to see, now that they've lived with it a few weeks, if their opinions have changed on it. But yeah, I don't know.
And Simon's wondering why. Is wondering why one deck over the other. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's weird too because the style of this deck, this watercolor style, isn't what I usually am drawn to. And I've seen similar style artwork in other decks, but the subject matter is completely different and just doesn't do it for me. I think, like you said, that a lot of these seem like meditative figures with the eyes closed. And I love that introspection.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of meditation, contemplation when I look at cards. I think I connect with the people in those cards that are going within, looking within.
Mm-hmm. And those are the words I would use for this deck: introspective, meditative.
Oh, Simon wondered why the change in the devil card. We don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I was almost tempted, I told Patryce to reach out to the creator and see if she wanted to join us. But since I'm as inexperienced as I am and I don't know anything about her personality, I felt a little bit awkward about it. If she'd had a tarot YouTube channel or something where I got a sense of who she was and if she was open, I mean, I still might reach out to her, but I mean, anybody, I guess, could write her and see if they can get an answer. I tried to get answers to questions about the Tarot for All Ages, and I could only get as far as the publisher, who reached out to the deck creator and got back to me and said that she felt that the art should stand by itself and be open to the reader's interpretation. She wasn't willing to explain the art in any of her cards or her choices. So I found that a little frustrating, but everybody has their own thoughts, ideas, I guess. Tarot trainee likes the death card.
Yeah, me too, tarot trainee. That's got to be a favorite death card.
Yeah, it's one to think about for sure.
Mhm.
It's not one I think about in terms of transformation so much, though.
Hmm.
And the Tarot for All Ages has a very sprightly butterfly, human butterfly figure in a bright, colorful costume just coming out of the chrysalis and flying away. So it's a very transformational card. I don't see transformation in this.
Hmm. I
I
see.
do see a sort of an endless cycle, though, the Ouroboros
Mhm.
forever swallowing its tail, sort of.
Mhm.
And I like that you referred to it as a portal.
Mhm. And avoid. Mhm. Yeah, I think that really depicts how I see the experience. And that I could do a whole segment about this card and about process work and kind of how I experience this sense of that void where I mean there's no it's it's weightless, it's timeless, it's formless. That's my sense of the void.
Yeah. You know, I didn't say much about the magician card. I
Mhm.
think it's because I took it too lightly. He comes across almost as a clown, but
Mhm.
he's not. And uh, I didn't point out that while he's got that energy, that heart energy between the two hands is sort of very reiki,
Mhm.
he's got around him, you can't see, little symbols
Mhm.
of the four elements.
Mhm.
So you've got these radiating circles of energy in the lemniscate overhead. So there are the elements there of the magician, but I think there's something almost comical about the little curl of his cap or something, or his wardrobe that seems more Joker jester like than we were used to in the seriousness of the magician's power or something. I don't know.
And I get the sense that the magician is, we're being invited to create from the heart, rather than creating from out here, creating from here.
Yeah. Jezebel, welcome for popping in late. This is the Mara Lune Tarot. It's available on Make Playing Cards and Game Crafters, two different versions. Lunne, Maralune. Any closing thoughts? I should probably get us out of here. It's been almost 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes, but it went by so fast for me.
This has been fun. Thank you, Robin, for inviting me to join you.
Well, thank you for coming by and sharing your thoughts. I always like to hear what other people see in the same cards that I look at. And so it helps me expand what I see in cards through them. And that's the easiest way for me to learn, by seeing how others read these cards.
And I have this one deck. I'm going. Are you? Anyway, this one deck that I felt like I wanted to share. I wanted to talk about with someone. So thank you for that invitation.
I haven't found any other people that have this deck yet, but I was looking for other people to dialogue with. And when I saw the comments on Sunset Bows, or whoever, I can't remember which one you were on,
I was like,
but I saw, oh, I know her. She's got the deck too. Fantastic. We can talk about it, so that's great. Thank thank you everybody for coming. Jezebel says that hat shape's a cultural hat, the sign of a shaman. Thank you, Jackie, for everything. Thank you, Simon, for sticking around and being part of this. Yeah, you can watch this back, folks, if you so desire. But
thank,
check out the deck.
thank you, everyone.
Uh, Bye, everybody, and hope to see you soon. I don't have anything scheduled. I'm going to do a deck dialogue with Ben of Beneficial Tarot. When his deck arrives, we're going to do a deck dialogue of the Jack-o'-lantern tarot. But the marketing on this has been so horrible. It was due out September 8th, my birthday, and I didn't get it until October 7th. And Halloween's only a couple weeks away. And Ben says it's not even due out in the UK until October 25th. I mean, what is this publisher, Lo Scarabeo, thinking about releasing a Halloween deck only 5 days before Halloween? When are people going to use it? Next season, maybe. Anyway, we're going to do that when he gets his copy. And I'm also hoping to do one, if I can talk Sandra into it. Sandra, maybe, and Kristen, Louise, maybe a couple other people of the Dream Keepers Tarot, because that's a very unusual deck that I don't know what to say about that one. It's so mysterious. Anyway, I better shut up and let everybody go. Bye, everybody. Thank you. The broadcast.